Joy News Studio here at Kokomlemle in Accra. This is Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144, live around the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up, the GPRT reduces transport fares by 15.3%, following a significant drop in the price of fuel at the pumps.
Finally come to conclusion that we are reducing lorry fares by 15.3%, effective from Monday.
We have reactions from some passengers who want a 30% reduction of fares.
Reduce it at least 30% would be okay, because since the fuel price have been reduced, they have no choice rather than to reduce the price. At least 30% would be okay for the passengers.
Now, Minority spokesperson on transport tasked GPRT to reduce transport fares between 15 and 22% immediately after days of sustained reduction in fuel prices. We have details of this story. Now, coming up again, Deputy Minority Whip stirs controversy, alleging that the MPP are campaigning for unfinancing Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who is seeking to retain a seat against fierce opposition from Asiedu Nketia.
And clearly, it presupposes that Ofosu-Ampofo is going to do the bidding for MPP, and that's why the MPP are campaigning for him.
We have details as he says Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo has the support of only 9 NDC MPs, with the other 128 behind Asiedu Nketia.
Out of the 137, Ofosu-Ampofo has only 9. There are 9. We have their names. They have created platform. There are only 9 on the platform.
Also, Burkina Faso summons Ghana's ambassador to their country for explanations after the President Akufo-Addo alleged the country had hired a Russian mercenary group. We'll take you to Burkina Faso to gauge the mood there. Now, in the wake of President Akufo-Addo's statement about the operations of the Wagner Group in Burkina Faso, the country's Foreign Affairs Ministry has revealed it has summoned the Ghanaian ambassador for explanations after the president's allegation that the country had hired a Russian mercenary group, Wagner. Before we get into that, here is what President Akufo-Addo said when he was speaking at a bilateral meeting with the U.S. Secretary of State, Anthony Blinken, in Washington, D.C. on Wednesday as part of the 2022 U.S. and Africa Leaders Summit.
So, Mr. Secretary, thank you very much. I want to thank the American government for the invitation to participate in this summit. I think it's a summit that's been long overdue. I believe it's the second. The last time was, what, over 10 years ago? Yeah, perhaps we should be doing more. But it's good that it has happened. It gives us an opportunity to talk about many common threats and challenges that we have, which you've identified. And particularly for us, to be able to put into relief where we are. Yesterday I had I was part of an extremely useful meeting with the people from the Congress to come and talk about security matters. I believe that, Madam, you were there, you were part of the meeting. And its significance for us. And I think that beyond everything, that is a matter that I want to urge upon you. Today, Russian mercenaries are on our northern border. Burkina Faso has now entered into an arrangement to go along with Mali in employing the Wagner forces there. I believe a mine in southern Burkina has been allocated to them as a form of payment for their services. Prime Minister of Burkina Faso in the last 10 days has been in Moscow. And to have them operating on our northern border is particularly distressing for us in Ghana. Apart from not accepting the idea of great powers once again making Africa their theater of operation, we have a particular position that you know about over the Ukraine war, where we have been very, very vocal and upfront about condemning the invasion of Russia by Russia. And therefore, they're now to have this group at our borders is a matter of some considerable disquiet and concern for us. We really like to have a privileged opportunity to talk about its implications and what we believe ought to be the case. This is what took place with the discussion in the Congress yesterday, which I found very fruitful. And I would like that the themes of that discussion should be the themes that we should continue to address. To what extent we can have you as a partner in confronting these threats.
Well, my colleague Blessed Soga of our international desk joins me live now with details of the Reuters report on the summoning of our ambassador to Burkina Faso. Blessed, what has Burkina Faso said so far?
Well, so we understand that there's a statement by the government there. The foreign ministry, as we understand, of Burkina Faso says it is, quote, expressing disapproval about the statement made by the Ghanaian president. You know that our president had indicated that they were engaging the Wagner group. They continue to indicate that, quote, Ghana could have undertaken some sort of exchange with the Burkinabe authorities on the proper security issues in order to have, quote, the right information. So the Burkinabe government appears to be unhappy with the statement by the president.
Now, has Burkina Faso confirmed the allegations that our president made?
Well, there's no clear confirmation now, except to say that from some of the reports that we've been chancing on online, there are indications that the Burkinabe authority is clear on the fact that they have not engaged the Wagner group. For instance, the spokesperson of the foreign ministry is indicating that in any case, they have not called on the group to come into their country, but they are tight-lipped on whether or not there's an official engagement between both countries for the mercenary group to be operating in the mines near Ghana's northern border.
What do we know about the calling of our ambassador to Burkina Faso?
Well, so there are two separate diplomatic engagements happening. First, the Burkinabe authorities are recalling their ambassador to Ghana. They explain that it's part of the consultation process to inform the way forward. Beyond that as well, our ambassador in Burkina Faso has been summoned. It's part of the usual diplomatic processes just to try and understand what it is that the statement our president made, and so we can, of course, bring some clarity to what's happening. We're not privy to the engagement that has taken place and what the Ghanaian position officially has been communicated to the Burkinabe authorities. So we're still awaiting the outcome of that engagement, and we'll keep our viewers updated on that. But we need to state that clearly the Burkinabe authorities are not happy that we're making this statement, clearly to state that their government is sponsoring or dealing with the mercenary group and also paying them subsequently with a mine as a compensation closer to the northern borders of Ghana.
This Wagner group itself, have we had them respond to what's happening?
No clear indication for now. Well, even the operation of the group itself cannot be officially linked to Russia, except to say that there's some sort of indications that most of the operatives within the mercenary group come from the eastern side. So that's where many experts believe, well, if you talk about the Wagner, largely most of them are operating from their base or headquarters in Russia. Beyond that, there's no clear indication of a direct involvement of the group's activity in Burkina Faso, except to say that some of their leading figures have been making comments indicating that what's happening now is part of a grand agenda by the West, i.e. the US and its allies, to try and fester a certain perception that Russia is to blame for the kind of terrorism and military insurgency that we're seeing, especially in the Sahel and the coastal states as it's moving towards.
Grateful. Blessed Soga is a member of our international desk. Now, Elias Otanko is joining us as Northeast regional correspondent, and he joins us on phone with some information about the Ghana-Burkina Faso situation now. Elias, what do we know so far about the situation?
Causing any serious development among the forces that have been deployed to protect the borders and stop the spread of the jihadists who are coming closer to our borders. I have been in touch with some of the commanders leading the Operation Conquer Fist and the Calm Life operation that is currently at the borders, and they have confirmed that indeed this particular statement and row between Ghana and Burkina Faso has come to their attention. They are still doing their work. They have been asked to protect the borders. It is not really affecting their work. They continue to share intelligence with their colleagues in Burkina Faso, and they are hoping that the politicians, as they call them, will come together quickly to resolve this issue so it could not escalate.
Grateful to you for that information. Now, the minorities in Parliament say National Security Minister Albert Kandapa must immediately take steps to douse tensions between Ghana and its neighbor, Burkina Faso. President Akufo-Addo told U.S. Secretary of State that Burkina Faso are using Russian mercenaries. This development has led to the recall of the Burkina ambassador to Ghana, with our envoy in Burkina Faso also being summoned. Ranking member on the Defense and Interior Committee, James Agalga, says if the situation is not resolved immediately, a diplomatic row will ensue between the two neighbors.
I would like to remark that some disturbing phenomenon which has happened in the past few days tends to place the entire Accra initiative on a slippery slope. And Mr. Speaker, it has to do with the recall of the Burkina Faso ambassador from our country and the summons to our ambassador in Burkina Faso to appear before their foreign ministry to explain the circumstances under which our president, His Excellency, made certain remarks when he had some engagements with the Secretary of State of the United States, Anthony Blinken. Mr. Speaker, the statements that are supposed to have made and are on video, which has gone viral, may amount to or create some diplomatic row between Ghana and Burkina Faso. The Minister for National Security is here. I know he is very good, he's adept when it comes to navigating around such difficult issues. So in order that the Accra initiative, which is a very laudable concept or initiative, does not collapse, I would entreat the minister to deploy his skills, reach out to his counterpart in Burkina Faso so that they resolve those issues amicably, so that Ghana can continue to be safe.
Now to other stories now, and beginning Monday, transport fares are expected to reduce by at least 15.3%. That's according to the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU. After a crunch meeting or other meeting, the union voted to reduce the fares, following a significant reduction in the price of fuel at the pumps. Now, this was contained in a statement brought to us a while ago. The general public may recall that on Saturday, 29th October 2022, a 19% upward adjustment in public transport fares took effect after intense negotiations with stakeholders. Now, with the recent reductions in the price of petroleum product, it became necessary to engage stakeholders to give consideration to a review of the fares in line with the administrative instrument. Consequently, a series of negotiation meetings were held with stakeholders to agree on an acceptable level of fare reduction commensurate with the current fuel prices. The statement continues that following these negotiations and in consideration of the plight of drivers, commuters, and the general public, we have resolved to reduce the existing transport fares by 15.3%. The new fares take effect from Monday, 19th December 2022. The fares cover the following types of road transport operations: shared taxis, intracity, that's structural, intercity, long distance, and haulage. So that's the statement that we received. Now, it continues to say, we kindly request all commercial transport operators to comply with the new fares and post same at their loading terminals. We further request all operators, commuters, and the general public to kindly cooperate for the successful implementation of the new fares. We take this opportunity to assure all transport operators and the general public that we will continue to work in their interest. Now, we've been having some reactions from some passengers after fuel prices dropped this morning. They want fares to be reduced by 30%.
if we are not being fair to them, they are also not being fair to us. It was so much no prize ne so my. It was so much no so because any boy then I'm no even though say no we were complaining, but we cope with it and I but this is the situation at the no say no prize no full on yet so it's most share way fairness on my kakra na anode.
Passengers calling for drop in transport fares after hearing prices of fuel have been reduced significantly. Fuel prices hit an all-time high in November, forcing transport owners to hike fares, and passengers had to bear the brunt. For some of them, the drivers have to apply the same principle now that fuel prices have dropped.
Option because that time no fuel no none board was showing until we have to pay. But this is the situation I have to fuel on this until also almost doing your kakra no more fairness on my. Because sometimes the penifo no more cars ni bintu omo hu sene but yen passengers na de bia ye koba ni de bia no e ha adwen we government work and salary sene etie sa na etie yen tu mu ye yen ne hweye but salary no sene etie sa transportation no kwa na ekoso nti omo hwe no mo nte so ma yen na ye bre.
But they say you are not being fair to them, that they've had to suffer with you for months before they got their first increment. You think you are not being fair?
But we are not being fair because we share increments no de buy na a boom within a month no don't want to you can send transportation mobile twice, which is unfair to us.
But the drivers will have none of that, especially Osei Kwame.
Oh, hey, they back a phone about 4 can't the phone and quiet. You talk tight. I talk only a pass will be or be anti so. Time 3.5.
We don't only buy fuel, we buy tires and other spare parts as well. All of that hasn't reduced, so we can't reduce the fare.
4.5. Obianti Biaso, look at me, full at $20 first one. No, but this is one too. I thought an among the work out of one. I mean, Tiso. I was looking for 10 months. Fine, that's about this. The Anti somebody.
Abusu kind spare parts no mutuno. A board in India ton of 4,500. Since 9,500.
The price of spare parts is still high. The passengers can't tell us we only use fuel to drive.
This is mostly transportation, so no. Yantos no. Passengers na ya form. This is one to car na car to be called. One more time there so now we catch us say me menti we no so me hu. Don't so pass on check. Yen yantos they say kwacha.
The price of everything else is high. That of my favorite wache is still high. The vendor hasn't reduced it, so why should I?
Now, Head of Communications at the JPR2, Imoro Abbas, joins us live now with more. Mr. Imoro, we know that when fares have been reduced, the challenge has to do with implementation. What's the strategy to ensure that this has been implemented to the letter?
Kindly lift up your voice a bit for me.
Mr. Imoro, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's a little
I'm
bit
asking
better.
about the strategy put in place to ensure that this is implemented effectively for all of us.
Well, as usual, we have our membership with us and we understand the business we are doing. I believe you heard some of our people complaining about certain things which left to them we shouldn't have even come up with any result. Yes, it is true. We have our challenges. We have so many things that we want to prove to the general public that the way they think about drivers, that's not how we are. We have a lot of sympathy within ourselves and for our clients. And we've been able to reduce 15.3%. We strongly believe we have our grievances, but we'll go by it and make sure we serve Mother Ghana well. So come 19th December, coming Monday, it will take effect from Monday. We'll see the beauty of our profession. We'll go by it and make sure what's happening.
Or that on Monday we'll not be having issues of a driver saying that, well, I'll not go by it. What's the strategy to ensure that every driver has been whipped in line?
You see, in every society, we have some questionable characters. But in our country, there is a big question about, if you look at the airline, 2180, Regulation 121, subsection 1 and 2, speaks about most of where our problem comes from. We, the law-abiding drivers, normally works within the stations. We pay for the assembly daily toll, contributing a lot for all the developments we see around. Who this law that I have referred to are in it. They don't contribute anything to any assembly. They work more than the law-abiding drivers within the station. Lo and behold, they are these people who create these problems that you are talking of. They decide to take whatever they wanted to. You see, but if we are to dive deep into it, we will say this is the punishment of the passengers.
Okay.
You come to the station and the passenger will he or she is in a hurry, just stop by the roadside and pick a vehicle.
Okay.
This encourage these floating vehicles, which today are turned out not to go by the laws and regulations of the country.
I'm grateful that you could.
Half of the problem also lies in the hands of the passengers as well.
Okay. All right. I'm grateful that you could join us here on the Joy News Prime. Now, with the city appreciating strongly against the dollar, some citizens in Kumasi have added to calls on President Akufo-Addo to enforce measures to reduce prices of goods on the market. In today's episode of The People's Voice, retailers and consumers in the Central Business District of Kumasi lament exorbitant prices of goods despite reduction in fuel prices and the city appreciating. Take a listen.
Yeah, cancer dollar no ekosro wa hu Ghana for mo ba tete dollar so petrol no so atete so na say me pese de me pese oyema ye ne say adwadifo na ekotogo no ekochina akofa ne man hye omo no omo tete ne man so if say no dollar no what is so still na omo nte ne man so petrol ne ate so omo nte so wan hye omo dia udina ne ebo na oye president Chad e Ghana na do ne kula enti free man dey ekoya bra na bete petrol no so Soja for break room, or more ton your mom, Matito, or my Yirisunya, you would ye. I mean, room, near stars to Fuanim, or my Matonia Manimo, one year man in Pierre, where money don't come near and Toby energy. The common day. Yakabaka, Inji, Yakoto raise 500. It's a raise the cost of 300. Ain't it? They say cost of 300. Who said this and Guana? Yadi Rukana, I did a penny for. Yeah, here and penny for no Becano. Omika Seva Accra, Echo Book, my Javani was here. Yavani was here, any anybody, and the penny for the Becano. And on I had yet, Yaba Preso. It's a more bagger, Mikobu Sayano. Almost money, 4 point something. I'm more for something. And so, woman, I catch us at Davo, Yanti, your flat to near you. Woman, you know what it is. Show me a papa. Me walk on about sis. Mintimin Yadian. Anna Mema Mebana, and better or move to Marco School. Ultimate Yadian and Marquala, or better Marco School. And Tina Mebaha, Anna me Pesa member so papa or Todiane, Amma Mebana. And we see a didn't say, and Tibia, Miss Papa, Miss Pa, Abba, may I call out, we'll see at dinner pa, we'll see at dinner, we'll see at dinner, and Tamamboy. I say, Cass came to Minchia. I near 3 city, I near 4 city. Yes, I need a Quashagana by Anne, Tiesroma, some man, the better to Cass Canoso, and the dollar and so at Tessono, phones to be beyond Tessono. A Kufuado or Pese, or known in a bushia forno, or living like a queen. Naya, 2 Abama woman, or my Mary, my or Nina could say. Or Nina Baku because of Ompe Obia vote to be and to the Ope and Warrior Petrol Yateso.
If the America for omu to petrol crano, send omodete. And say no so what is so. Nani amamu kofa yes abronya yet me ton tare kra my man say. Ade yet to abama o say brabe Jessica. Never wo obusuafo ana.
Juno na me ton quite yet ni be baako. Be ni baako no. Na me ton 14 million. Say 40 million. Enti gamedia me na aba no e ma soldiers for mrakom. Na omu musamo. Sa kwa ya mo fa so amoto ade no abrochire wa. Sese no mo ton ni se no. Enti ye pese wo mo te niam ne so.
Nsuka me kwato spare pass ba ko pe o kwa we chi ni price say we chi ni price say ade ba ko nipa ba 20 obi ane ne price o de je ya ti fu so but enema timamofo no ya de yo mo ton o mo tete so sina price ni o mo kwa so an say kwa soro so enti ba de na amawe ato so enti percent a o mo say ma na edin asuasu ambu aban no so me draba ni utiti fresh na sa me koma asi na sentity spare parts so abana na matima den ade me kana maintain adwuma.
Well, life in remote communities without electricity is quite difficult, particularly for essential service providers such as health workers living in Jantwa Krom, a farming community in the Wasa Amenfi West municipality of the Western region, is a typical example. An SHS graduate, however, is bringing his ingenuity to bear to change the narrative. He's using a Shamfan machine to power Jantwa Krom, and I have been there, and this is what my lens is captured. It's deep into the night, and I'm being taken to a community in the Amenfi West municipality of the Western region, where I'm told the chips compound there does not have electricity. It got to a point I was wondering if indeed we're headed for a community. Upon entering this community called Jantwa Krom, I chanced upon a group of young people enjoying a World Cup game. So it's deep in the night here in Jantwa Krom. It's a farming community in the Amenfi West district of the Western region. They are enjoying a FIFA football game, but the interesting thing is they are enjoying it without power from the ECG, but power generated in this community with the help of some farm machines. Without that, this whole community will be without power. After getting to know the power the community members were using was not from the national grid, I continued to check up at the chips compound in this community to find out more. I meet Ben Mieza, the in charge at the Jantwa Krom chips compound.
When you talk of delivering health service, first of all, most of the things that people tend to affect people happens in the night. So, for instance, somebody goes to work, gets injured, or maybe a woman goes into labor in the night. Those things happens in the night, and that time there is no light. So sometimes somebody will come heading vaginal delivery. You have to use torch to conduct the delivery. Maybe somebody gets injured. You want to help the person. You have to use torch. So it's very challenging. In doing that, it breaks our back.
He confirms there is no electricity in the community, but with the help of a chamfan, they are able to get power at the facility.
There's no light in this community, so people who live here want to make life comfortable for themselves. So individuals who have money have gone to purchase a machine called chamfan that they have connected it to a meter that converts chemical energy to electrical energy. So it's their private use, and the head of the community, because of the work we do, they've gone to see them to provide that electro light. So when the light is on, they give us a letter. When they put it off, we are off.
Mieza tells me, however, that the power can only stay on for just a few hours.
So it's not that we have permanent light. It's just for some hours. In 3 hours, it will go off. And we need to manage that 3 hours to charge our phones and maybe other stuffs.
So I meet up with 22-year-old Gabriel Isaka, an SHS graduate who pursued general art, whose effort powers the small community and the CHIPS compound.
Pacho ohe ahasina community asina light no ase inya access to electricity no enti edu anwumesi ase na ase ayesum enti ene ma adwin bi wa se wokoto sa chamfa machine na oyusuma amateur ebetimi produce light no enti ene ma say try ahwe enti try nso na kama ebetimi produce light no e dey ma community ni nyina.
He explains why he is not able to produce power for the CHIPS compound and by extension the community the whole 24 hours in a day.
Enti ebedu maybe on say omu 2 design munti na ama like o kasa o produce from anopa to anwumre na untimi cost no ebe high enti sisia no akwa say be anwumre esum time kwa na ebetimi ade aso ede amom no from 6 p.m.
Okay.
Enti enkobo 11 p.m. na by that time no be upon na yakwa kodum no.
Isaka says the increment in the price of diesel is making him run at a loss nowadays.
For about 5 years.
Wow. And you know, what Obia saying?
First, no, na ye on say we use depending and yama we use no fear. Say Bob no anyway no kwa first na a week no na 25 cedis a week. And as you see, the way diesel no as a cost from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. no o kasa o ye no 46 a week krana entimi. Nti sisi anama ye na like we no e wo dia na ye hu kom mo.
Okay.
Nti no 40 cedis a week no from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Nti week ni be sina me ho be kom at least a week bia no me tua light bay 500 Ghana cedis. That is almost 40 cedis now every week.
Surprisingly, for him, it is not much about making profit, but helping his community.
Also, we say the boa community until Ukaso, yes, I won't say now do one hour something 40 cedis in Crown, almost any boy didn't see baby ama baby Naija Yusu. The man may have 40 cedis and once then town now was no now do was to make calculate the every week in the same I'm using to make calculate and divide the movie anti or be free so no because I will check that and they go when sooner almost soon say I was so internet say be a major and I may fat can I ban.
Young Gabriel Isaka is, however, looking forward to a brighter day for him to continue his education.
To me, now say, more be and free Mantino. I say, me present Trafina, may a joint crans and my scout also.
For Gabriel's inspiring story, it is my prayer that he gets help to continue his education and also for light to be extended to his community, Jantwa, for nothing at all, for his sake. For Joy News, Samuel Kojo Brace, Jantwa, Wasaminfi West Municipality, Western Region. As you're watching Joy News Prime, we'll take a quick break. We're back with more. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break, and time for us to bring you this week's Joy News editorial with Arba Kumsen.
Now, when people's pockets are dry or they have to dig deeper to purchase ordinary things, they often frown because it's not a laughing situation. For months, the cedi kept depreciating against the dollar, and the effects were there for everyone to see. It affected fuel prices, which in turn affected transport fares and even some prices of commodities. So many of us have been walking around with long faces because we've had to fork out more money for even basic things.
Driver, there are 2 petrol musa, you say me turn pure water. 1 bag, you turn to say Debia obia to the name. Debia obia to them at day. Ghana Umbasian day. Young boys, Umbasian sorry and I said day. Yes, Ramwa, mucho when you bread, drivers for this Piota back backo, send 12 city, 10 city.
But this week has been one that has put smiles on the faces of many. Early this month, the city began to recover when in 2 months prior, it was considered the world's weakest currency. At the time, it coincided with an increase in oil prices and hikes in transport fares. Well, fuel costs at the gas pumps have started to decline as a result of the fall in oil prices and the strengthening cedi. But many, including MPs, were unhappy that the commercial drivers did not reduce their fares to correspond with it.
Concern also is that while we are currently experiencing a turnaround from the depreciation, the expected economic relief is not being felt by the ordinary Ghanaians, since goods are still being sold at high prices. Speaker, I make this submission urging the executive and its policymakers to take additional measures directed at restoring price of food items and other goods to some sustainable level.
In the last few hours, we are hearing the GPRTU has buckled to the pressure and have assured that lorry fares will decrease by 15% effective Monday. So that is the statement by the GPRTU on your screens there. You can see there them indicating that indeed they have taken the decision to reduce fuel prices. So it says the new fares take effect from Monday, 19 December 2022. The fares cover the following types of road transport operations, that is shared taxis, intracity, that's trotro, intercity, that's long distance, and haulage, amongst others. I feel so relieved. We adore how the city appears to be boosted and on steroids. In fact, at the last check, the currency was trading against the dollar at 8 cedis, from a high of 15 cedis to the dollar to 8 cedis, from a meteoric rise to a sharp dive. Fascinating. I remember when the city was taking a beating, the prices of many goods went up. Even coconut sellers said it was expensive to transport the coconut, so they increased the price to 4 cedis 50 pesos from 2 cedis. Greed forced many traders to overprice their goods. Even wele was increased. Cooked cowhide, wele. Many wache vendors started to price their food above 7 cedis. Balls of kenke started selling from 3 cedis and above. You recall the Ghana Union of Traders Association even locked up their shops, protesting the sharp depreciation of the cedi. We all complained when the dollar was depreciating and fuel prices were rising. Traders used that as a reason to increase the prices of goods. But with the cedi appreciating, they are still sticking to this excuse.
Some of us imported at 15.5 for the US dollar. The benchmark has all gone up 100%. Rates on loans are still high. How do I reduce the prices? Unless I've sold them. We can't tell the dollar will go up again. We are in the second or third week in December. Let's assume it goes up. If I should reduce it now, I'll lose. Space touch faultless was this sold at 18 cents. It's not 34 cedis. It will not reduce it. So how do I reduce my products? It can't be possible.
Now, we must be fair to ourselves. We all cried and prayed for things to improve. Our prayers have been answered from what we see. Well, we hope that the executives of Guta will impress upon their members and slash prices with urgency. Traders must reduce their prices with the same zeal when the cedi took a nosedive, so that it is easier on all of us. As of last month, our inflation was at 50.3%. So we call on the traders to eschew this greed and do the needful and reduce the prices so that our inflation rate will also reflect accordingly. We hope the price of oil will go down further so that people can finally shop for Christmas. We hope that wig sellers and other hair extension vendors will reduce their goods so that people will look good this Christmas. To the traders, I say, if it is greed that is driving your actions, you need to stop. If we are not willing to change, we'll destroy this country. This will not entirely rest on bad governance and political leadership, but on your unacceptable actions, which is affecting everyone. Because we've all suffered. I mean, we've been on an economic roller coaster ride. for the greater part of this year. So to the traders, listen to the voice of conscience in you and not the voice of your greed.